The unexpected proposal. Jack Carter was just an ordinary man. He worked as a mechanic in a small town, fixing cars and living a quiet life. Every morning, he drank his coffee, checked his schedule, and got to work. Nothing exciting ever happened in his life. But that changed one morning. The sky turned red. A deep hum vibrated through the air, making the ground shake. People ran outside, staring up in shock. Right above Earth, a massive spaceship hovered, blocking the sun. It was unlike anything seen before, a dark silver structure with glowing blue rings, rotating slowly in the sky. Then the announcement came. A deep, robotic voice echoed across the world, broadcasting in every language. People of Earth, hear this. Our royal house has chosen a human for a great honor. He has been selected to marry our princess. He shall become part of the Zirian Empire. His name is Jack Carter. Silence. Then, chaos. TV channels exploded with breaking news. Social media went crazy. Jack Carter's name was everywhere. People knocked on his door. Reporters tried to get interviews. And even the government showed up. Jack, standing in his messy garage, wiped the oil off his hands. He blinked at the TV screen, seeing his own confused face on the news. What the hell? Before he could react, a beam of blue light surrounded his house. His body froze, and a strange force pulled him upward. In seconds, he was lifted into the sky. His town, his home, and his life vanished beneath him. Inside the alien ship, Jack landed softly on a cold, metallic floor. His heart pounded. He looked around. A huge circular hall, glowing with soft golden lights. Strange symbols floated in the air, shifting like holograms. Then they appeared. A group of tall, silver-skinned aliens with piercing golden eyes stood before him. Their robes shimmered like liquid metal. One of them, wearing an elaborate crown, stepped forward. Jack Carter of Earth, welcome aboard the Royal Starship. Jack's throat went dry. "Ah, thanks. But what's going on?" The alien leader nodded. "You have been chosen as the royal consort. You will marry Princess Syra, heir to the Zirian throne." Jack stared at them. He tried to process what he just heard. "Wait, you want me to marry an alien princess?" The leader simply nodded. "Yes." Jack laughed nervously. "Look, I think you got the wrong guy. I fix cars. I eat burgers. I'm not exactly royal material." The aliens remained silent. Then another figure stepped forward. She was different from the others. Her silver skin had a faint blue tint, and her golden eyes held something strange, emotion. Princess Syra. She studied Jack carefully, as if trying to understand him. "You are the chosen one," she said softly. Jack ran a hand through his hair. "Chosen? Why me?" The leader answered. "The oracle selected you. It is fate." Jack rubbed his temples. This was insane. 1 minute, he was fixing a truck. And now he was in space, being told he had to marry an alien princess. Okay, let's say I agree. What if I say no? The air grew tense. The aliens exchanged looks. The leader spoke carefully. "Then you will never return to Earth." Jack's stomach dropped. "You mean I don't have a choice?" Syra stepped closer. "You have a choice," she said, her voice softer than the others. "But I hope you will choose wisely." Jack swallowed. He had so many questions, but one thing was clear. His life would never be the same again. And the real adventure was just beginning. The alien bride and the wedding trouble. Jack Carter had always dreamed of adventure, but not like this. He stood in the grand hall of the alien spaceship, staring at the tall, silver-skinned beings around him. The air smelled strange, like metal and something floral. The walls pulsed with soft, glowing patterns, almost as if the ship was alive. The leader of the aliens, still wearing his shimmering robes, watched Jack with unreadable golden eyes. "Your fate is decided, Jack Carter. You will marry Princess Syra." Jack exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. Okay, look, I didn't sign up for this. I'm just a mechanic from Earth. You can't just pick a random guy and say, hey, congratulations, you're getting married to an alien princess. A soft, musical laughter filled the hall. Jack turned. Princess Zyra stood before him now, studying him with curious, intelligent eyes. Her silver skin had a faint shimmer, like moonlight on water, and her long, flowing hair shifted colors. A deep blue one moment, a soft violet the next. You think this is strange? She asked, tilting her head. Try being me. My wedding was supposed to unite my people. Now, they want me to marry a human. Jack blinked. Wait, you don't want this either. Zyra's lips twitched in amusement. Not exactly. But I have no choice. My father insists that you are the chosen one. Jack shook his head, still struggling to understand. Chosen how? By some ancient alien prophecy. The alien leader stepped forward, his golden eyes glowing. By the oracle. At the mention of the word, the other aliens bowed their heads slightly, as if the oracle was something sacred. Jack narrowed his eyes. And this oracle, what is it? The oracle is a machine of infinite wisdom, created thousands of years ago. It has never been wrong. Jack rolled his eyes. Great. So a supercomputer says I have to get married, and now I don't have a say in it. The leader remained silent, but Zyra looked at Jack with something new in her expression. Curiosity. Perhaps the oracle saw something in you that even you do not know, she said softly. Jack sighed. Yeah. Well, I wish it gave me a heads up first. The doors behind them slid open silently, revealing a massive cityscape inside the ship. Towers of glowing energy, floating platforms, and strange hovering creatures filled the sky. It was like something out of a sci-fi movie. But this was real. Come, Zyra said. You must learn about our world before the wedding. Jack hesitated. What if I say no? The alien leader's expression darkened. Then you will never leave this ship. Jack sighed again. Figures. He had no choice but to follow Zyra into the unknown. The alien wedding drama begins. The city inside the spaceship was unlike anything Jack had ever seen. Neon blue rivers flowed through the air, defying gravity. Floating bridges connected massive structures that looked like a mix of glass and living plants. Strange, hovering orbed creatures zipped around, delivering messages or scanning objects. Zyra walked beside Jack, her robes shifting colors with every step. She walked like a queen, confident and poised. But Jack could sense she was just as trapped as he was. So, Jack asked, who were you originally supposed to marry? Zyra's expression stiffened. Prince Kale. Jack frowned. And he's not happy about this, is he? Zyra sighed. Not at all. He was meant to rule beside me. Now, he sees you as an intruder. Jack groaned. Great. So now I have an alien prince who hates my guts. Zyra smirked. Not just him. Many in the Empire believe a human is unworthy. Jack felt a knot in his stomach. And if I refuse to go along with this wedding? Zyra looked at him, her expression unreadable. Then my people will see you as a threat, and threats are eliminated. Jack gulped. Got it. So, either I get married or I get vaporized. You understand quickly. The trials of worthiness. Before Jack could even process what was happening, a loud gong sounded through the air. Zyra's golden eyes flashed with alarm. It's starting. Jack frowned. What's starting? The alien leader appeared again, flanked by guards with glowing spears. The trials of worthiness. Jack took a step back. Wait. Trials. The people demand proof, the leader said. If you wish to marry Princess Zyra, you must prove your strength, wisdom, and honor. Jack groaned. Of course. There's always a catch. A large crowd had gathered in a circular arena-like structure. The ground beneath them shifted, forming a massive platform that hovered in midair. Symbols of light flickered across the floor. Tyra leaned toward Jack, whispering, "If you fail, they won't let you leave alive." Jack sighed. Great. No pressure. The first trial was about to begin. And Jack had no idea how he was going to survive it. The test of honor. Jack Carter stood on the floating platform, his heart pounding as the alien crowd stared down at him. Thousands of golden-eyed spectators filled the massive arena, whispering in their strange, musical language. Some looked amused, others furious. At the far end of the platform, a tall figure in black armor stepped forward. He was at least 7 feet tall, his silver skin gleaming under the arena lights. His golden eyes burned with hatred. Jack recognized him immediately. Prince Kale. The alien Groom Kyra was originally supposed to marry. Kel's deep, echoing voice cut through the silence. "This is the human you want as your future ruler." A weak, earth-born insect. The crowd murmured. Some nodded. Others jeered at Jack. Jack crossed his arms. "Nice to meet you too, big guy." Kale glared. "You are unworthy. You should not even stand here." Jack sighed. "Yeah, well, I didn't ask to be here, either." The alien leader, the High Chancellor, raised a glowing staff, signaling for silence. The first trial begins. The arena hummed with energy, and the platform beneath Jack's feet shifted, glowing with moving symbols. Jack had no idea what was coming, but he knew one thing. He was not ready. The trial of honor. The High Chancellor spoke, his voice booming across the arena. "This is the trial of honor. The people of Zirion do not follow those who are weak. If a leader cannot command respect, they are nothing. You, Jack Carter, must prove that you are worthy, not with strength, but with words." Jack blinked. "Wait. What?" Prince Kale smirked. "This is a battle of honor. You must stand before the council and defend your right to exist among us. If they judge you unworthy," he grinned, "you are exiled. Permanently." Jack swallowed hard. This wasn't a fight. It was a debate, and the entire alien empire was waiting for him to fail. The first challenge. The questions of the council. Jack was led to the center of the platform, where 5 ancient-looking aliens sat in floating thrones. Their robes shimmered with strange symbols, their faces blank and unreadable. One of them, an older female with silver braids, leaned forward. "Tell us, human, what makes your kind worthy of ruling beside us?" Jack licked his lips. His mind raced. He could feel Cal's smirk burning into his back. He took a deep breath. "I'm not here to rule anyone. But I know one thing. Humans are survivors. We are fighters. When everything is against us, we don't give up." The council watched him in silence. A second counselor, an alien with piercing white eyes, spoke. "Your kind is weak. You rely on machines. You do not have our strength, our wisdom, our power." Jack frowned. "Maybe. But we have something just as strong." The counselor raised an eyebrow. "And what is that?" Jack stood straighter. "We have heart. We fight for what we love. We don't back down. We protect our own, no matter what." The arena fell silent. Tyra, standing at the edge of the platform, looked at Jack with something new in her golden eyes. Kale, however, was furious. Empty words. He stepped forward. "Words do not win battles. Words do not make a leader. You are just a fool with no power." Jack turned to face him. "You're wrong." Cal's eyes flashed. "Prove it." The second challenge. The warrior's judgment. The High Chancellor spoke again. "Very well. The trial of honor will now move to the next phase." The platform shook, and suddenly, a massive stone pillar rose from the ground. At the top of the pillar was a single glowing object, a ring made of pure energy. The Chancellor pointed at it. "You must claim the Ring of Kings. Only then will you be judged worthy." Jack squinted. "That's it. I just climb up there and take the ring." Cale smirked. "If you can." Before Jack could ask what that meant, the ground beneath him collapsed. He barely had time to jump, landing on a narrow floating platform. A deep growl rumbled through the air. Jack looked up, and his stomach dropped. A massive winged creature hovered above the ring. It had razor-sharp talons, red glowing eyes, and a mouth full of dagger-like teeth. Cale laughed coldly. "Good luck, human." Jack groaned. "Of course. There's always a monster." The climb. A fight for honor. Jack started climbing. The stone pillar was steep and slick, with barely any handholds. The alien beast swooped down, snapping at him with its jaws. Jack dodged, barely avoiding its attack. He grabbed onto a jagged edge and pulled himself up. The crowd watched in silence, waiting for him to fail. Jack gritted his teeth. Not today. He climbed higher. The beast attacked again, knocking loose a section of the pillar. Jack slipped, barely catching himself. His fingers burned from the strain. But he kept going. The ring was just a few feet away. Cale snarled from below, furious. He had expected Jack to fall. Jack lunged. His fingers closed around the glowing ring. A loud chime echoed through the arena. The platform stabilized. The monster vanished, and the crowd gasped in shock. Jack held up the ring, breathing heavily. "Looks like I win." The High Chancellor smiled for the first time. "The trial of honor is complete. The human is worthy." The crowd erupted in chaos. Some cheered. Others shouted in rage. Cale's face twisted with fury. This wasn't over. Jack stumbled to the ground, exhausted. Zyra stepped forward, looking at him differently now. "You're not like I expected," she admitted. Jack smirked. "Yeah. Well, I didn't expect to be here at all." She actually laughed. But deep in the shadows, Cale was already planning his revenge. And Jack's next trial would be even deadlier. A deadly game. Jack Carter had survived the first trial. Barely. His arms ached, his legs felt like jelly, and his heart was still racing from nearly falling to his death. But he had won. He had claimed the Ring of Kings. And now, every golden-eyed alien in the arena was staring at him. Some with awe, some with anger, but one pair of eyes burned with pure hatred. Prince Cale. Jack saw the alien prince standing at the edge of the platform, his jaw clenched, fists tight. His eyes were locked onto Jack, like a predator stalking its prey. Jack smirked and flashed the ring at him. "Guess I'm not so weak after all, huh?" Cale didn't answer, but the look in his eyes said everything. This wasn't over. Not even close. The second trial announced. The High Chancellor raised his glowing staff again, silencing the roaring crowd. His deep, commanding voice echoed through the vast arena. "The first trial has ended. The human has proven himself. For now." Jack rolled his eyes. "Wow. Thanks for the enthusiasm." The Chancellor ignored him. "But there are still 2 more trials. The second challenge begins now." The arena shook. Jack turned as the ground behind him split open. A giant floating screen appeared in the sky, displaying an alien jungle, lush, green, filled with massive glowing trees, twisting vines, and creatures that didn't look friendly. The trial of survival. Jack's stomach dropped. "Oh, fantastic." The Chancellor continued. "The contestant will be placed in the wilds of Drakthar. He must survive for 1 full cycle of our twin suns." Jack had no idea what that meant, but before he could ask, Zyra leaned in and whispered, "That's 48 Earth hours." Jack's eyes widened. 2 days. Alone? In that? He pointed at the screen, where a massive, 6-eyed predator with razor-sharp fangs just took down a smaller creature. Zyra nodded. "Yes." Jack sighed. Of course, because falling off a tower wasn't enough. Prince Cale finally spoke, his voice smooth and dangerous. "Do not worry, human. If you get eaten, at least you will die proving our point." Jack grinned. Careful, buddy. I might just survive again and ruin your whole day. Cal's golden eyes flashed, but before he could respond, the platform beneath Jack glowed blue. A second later, he was gone. The deadliest jungle in the galaxy. Jack hit the ground hard. The impact knocked the breath out of him, and he rolled down a small hill, crashing into a pile of thick, glowing vines. Ow! He groaned and pushed himself up, looking around. The jungle was beautiful but terrifying. The sky above was deep purple, with two bright suns burning in the distance. Massive trees, taller than skyscrapers, loomed around him. Their leaves glowed softly, casting eerie blue light. Strange creatures slithered and crawled through the dense undergrowth. Jack wiped the sweat off his forehead. All right. 48 hours. No big deal. I'll just not die. A low growl rumbled behind him. Jack froze. Slowly, he turned his head. A massive creature, at least 10 feet tall, stepped out from the shadows. It had 6 red eyes, razor-sharp spines running down its back, and talons the size of swords. Jack stared at it. The creature stared back. Silence. Then Jack did the only logical thing. He ran. The hunt begins. Jack sprinted through the jungle, dodging vines and leaping over fallen trees. Behind him, the beast roared and charged, tearing through the undergrowth like a battering ram. Jack's lungs burned. His legs ached. But he couldn't stop. Why is it always a giant monster? He spotted a twisted tree with massive roots sticking out like a cage. Thinking fast, he dove between the roots, pressing himself against the trunk. The beast slammed into the tree, snapping branches and shaking the ground. But it couldn't reach him. Jack grinned. Ha! Take that. Ugly. The beast growled, backing up. Then, to Jack's horror, it started digging. Oh, come on. Jack scrambled out the other side of the tree, just as the beast's claws ripped through the roots. He spotted a large vine hanging from a nearby rock ledge. No time to think. Jack grabbed the vine and swung, barely escaping as the beast lunged forward, snapping at where he had just been. Jack landed on the ledge, panting. I hate this trial. Cal's dirty trick. Meanwhile, back in the arena, Prince Cal watched the screen with a cold smirk. He's surviving. A cloaked figure beside him nodded. For now. Cal's eyes darkened. Not for long. He turned to a nearby console, inputting a secret command. Back in the jungle, a tiny drone hidden in the trees beeped. A new creature awoke deep underground. Something far worse than the beast Jack had just escaped. Nightfall and the real danger. Hours passed. Jack had built himself a crude shelter from giant leaves and thick vines. He had even managed to find some alien fruit that, hopefully, wouldn't kill him. The 2 suns started to set, casting the jungle in deep blue twilight. Strange bioluminescent plants came alive, glowing like lanterns. The air filled with strange clicking sounds. Jack shivered. I don't like that. Then, he heard it. A sound that made his blood turn cold. A deep guttural clicking. Closer. Louder. Jack slowly turned. Emerging from the shadows was something horrific. A massive, spider-like creature, twice the size of the last beast, with glowing blue venom dripping from its fangs. Its many eyes locked onto Jack. Jack's breath caught in his throat. You've got to be kidding me. The creature lunged. Jack ran for his life. Again. Betrayal and escape. Jack Carter had faced killer beasts, an unforgiving alien jungle, and a ticking clock counting down his survival. But nothing prepared him for this. The massive, spider-like creature lunged at him, its glowing blue venom dripping from its fangs. Its legs moved too fast, skittering across the jungle floor, crushing branches as it closed the distance. Jack's mind raced. No weapons, no plan, just pure instinct. Think, Jack, think. He spotted a giant, glowing plant nearby, one he had seen earlier. a carnivorous trapper plant. If he could lure the creature close enough. Jack bolted toward it, forcing his legs to move faster than ever. The creature screeched, sensing its prey. It closed in, mere feet behind him. At the last second, Jack dove to the side, rolling into the mud. The monster didn't stop in time. Snap! The massive plant's mouth slammed shut around the creature, its thick, glowing vines wrapping tightly. The jungle shook as the beast shrieked, trapped inside the deadly plant's embrace. Jack lay on the ground, panting. His hands were shaking. His heart felt like it would explode. That was too close. The jungle was silent again. For now. Jack picked himself up, wiping sweat and dirt from his face. He still had to survive the night. And something told him. The worst was yet to come. Cal's plan. The ultimate betrayal. Meanwhile, far above the jungle, inside the royal spaceship, Prince Cal watched the holographic screen with narrowed golden eyes. Jack was still alive. That wasn't supposed to happen. Cal clenched his fists. The human had made a mockery of him. The trials were supposed to destroy him, humiliate him in front of the Empire. But instead, Jack was winning. And Tyra. Cal's jaw tightened as he looked at the alien princess standing at the edge of the viewing platform, watching Jack's progress with growing admiration. Cal saw it in her golden eyes. Curiosity. Maybe even respect. Unacceptable. Cal turned to his cloaked informant. Is everything in place? The figure nodded. Yes, my prince. The final trial has already been altered. A cold smile spread across Cal's face. Good. Let's see how the human handles real betrayal. The final hours. A dangerous encounter. Jack stumbled through the jungle, exhaustion weighing on him. His body was screaming for rest, but he couldn't stop. He had survived nearly 40 hours, just a few more to go. As he walked, he noticed something strange. The jungle was too quiet. No animal sounds, no distant roars, just silence. Jack's stomach twisted. Something was wrong. That's when he saw her, a figure wrapped in dark alien armor, stepping out of the trees. A Zirion warrior. Not just any warrior, a hunter. Jack tensed. You've got to be kidding me. The warrior's helmet shifted, revealing sharp golden eyes. She grinned. The prince sends his regards. Before Jack could react, she launched forward, fast as lightning. The duel. Jack vs. the assassin. Jack barely had time to dodge as the warrior swung a curved energy blade at him. The blade sliced through a tree like it was paper. Okay, that's not fair. Jack ducked and rolled, barely avoiding the next strike. He grabbed a thick branch, using it as a makeshift weapon. The assassin laughed mockingly. Pathetic. She lunged again. This time, Jack swung the branch, catching her in the side. The hit barely fazed her, but it surprised her enough for Jack to kick her in the chest, knocking her back. I might not have a fancy blade, Jack panted, but I know how to fight dirty. The assassin snarled, flipping back to her feet. Jack knew he couldn't keep this up. He needed an advantage. He noticed a ledge above them, with a large hanging vine. If he could get her beneath it. Come on, tough girl. Try again. She charged at him, blade raised high. At the last second, Jack jumped aside. The assassin rushed forward, right under the vine. Jack grabbed the vine and swung. The thick rope-like plant snapped, bringing down a heavy branch right on top of her. The assassin crashed to the ground, pinned beneath the weight. She snarled, struggling. But she couldn't move. Jack stepped forward, breathing heavily. Tell your prince, I don't die easy. He grabbed her fallen energy blade. She glared at him, but there was something else in her expression now. Respect. Jack didn't waste time. He turned and ran, gripping the stolen blade. Only a few hours left. But Cal wasn't done yet. The final betrayal. Back on the spaceship, Cal's eyes burned with fury. His assassin had failed. But that didn't matter. He had one final move left. Cale turned to the High Chancellor. This trial is over. The Chancellor frowned. The human still has time. Cale smirked. Not anymore. He pressed a hidden command on his wrist device. In the jungle, Jack suddenly froze. A low rumble shook the ground. The trees began to tremble. Then, the entire sky darkened as a massive spaceship descended. Jack stared in horror. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. A squadron of armed Xerium warriors stepped out. Their leader pointed at Jack. By order of Prince Cale, you are under arrest for violating the sacred trials. Jack's stomach dropped. Wait, what? The soldiers raised their weapons. Jack gritted his teeth. All right, you want to play dirty. He gripped the stolen energy blade and charged forward. The final battle had begun. The final showdown. Love is power. Jack Carter was surrounded. Armed Xerium warriors formed a tight circle around him, glowing energy weapons aimed at his chest. Their golden eyes were cold, merciless. Their leader, a tall, battle-scarred commander, stepped forward. Surrender, human. Your trial is over. Jack gripped his stolen energy blade, his heart pounding. This wasn't fair. He had played by the rules, survived the impossible, and yet, here he was, betrayed. Yeah, and if I say no? The commander's voice was flat. Then you die here. Jack tightened his grip, scanning his surroundings. He was in a clearing, deep in the jungle. No easy escape, no backup, just him, and a dozen alien soldiers ready to execute him. He exhaled sharply. Great, so much for happy endings. Then, a voice rang out through the trees. Stop. Jack froze. So did the warriors. From the dense jungle, a tall, cloaked figure emerged. The warriors hesitated, lowering their weapons slightly as they recognized her. It was Princess Syra. Jack's breath caught. What was she doing here? Syra pulled back her hood, her golden eyes fierce. Release him. The commander frowned. Princess, you should not be here. The trial is over. The human is guilty of violating our laws. Syra glared. No, he is guilty of surviving your rigged test. The commander hesitated. This was unexpected. Jack, still gripping his weapon, stared at her in disbelief. You came for me. Syra's gaze flickered to him, and for a brief moment, he saw something in her eyes he hadn't seen before. Determination, loyalty, maybe even something more. You were cheated, she said firmly. I will not stand by and let Cale destroy you. Jack felt something shift in his chest, but there was no time for emotions. The commander's face hardened. The prince has declared him an enemy. If you interfere, you defy the throne. Syra lifted her chin. Then I defy the throne. The warriors stiffened. Defying the prince was treason. Jack's pulse sped up. This was getting dangerous. Syra, you don't have to do this, he whispered. Her eyes softened, but only for a moment. Yes, I do. She turned to the soldiers. If anyone tries to harm him, they answer to me. The commander hesitated. Even he knew that going against the princess was a dangerous move. Then, a deep, mocking voice echoed from above. Touching. Truly. Jack gritted his teeth. He knew that voice. A shimmering portal opened in the sky, and a figure descended from a floating throne. Prince Cale. He landed gracefully, his long black cloak flowing behind him, his golden eyes filled with pure malice. He wasn't just here to stop Jack. He was here to end him. Cale's final move. A duel for everything. Cale's smile was razor-sharp as he looked at Syra. You surprise me, princess. Defending a human. Do you actually believe he is worthy of you? Syra's expression didn't waver. I believe he is more worthy than you. A flicker of rage crossed Cale's face, but he masked it with a smirk. So be it. He turned to Jack. I grow tired of this game. Let's settle this properly. Jack raised an eyebrow. What, you want to dance off? Cal's eyes glowed dangerously. No. A duel. Jack stilled. A duel. One-on-one. No tricks. No warriors. Winner takes all. Jack exhaled slowly. You're really not going to let this go, huh? Cal smirked. I will kill you in front of her, and she will see who the real leader is. Jack didn't hesitate. He stepped forward. All right, big guy, let's dance. The duel begins, strength his heart. The warriors formed a wide circle, giving them space. The crowd watched in absolute silence, waiting for blood. Cal drew his sleek black energy blade, its edges crackling with golden sparks. Jack raised his stolen weapon, feeling its weight. He was no swordsman. He was just a mechanic from Earth. But he had come too far to quit now. Cal struck first. Jack barely had time to parry, the force of the attack sending him stumbling back. Cal was faster, stronger, trained for this. Jack was just trying to survive. But then, he noticed something. Cal fought with anger. He struck hard, but his emotions made him reckless. Jack could use that. Come on, is that all you got? Jack taunted. Cal's eyes flashed with fury. He attacked again, swinging too hard. Jack dodged, stepping inside the attack range, and the AMU punched Cal in the gut. Cal staggered back, shocked. The crowd gasped. Jack grinned. Didn't expect that, huh? Cal snarled. I will break you. You can try. The final strike. The fight intensified. Jack dodged, ducked, rolled, using every dirty trick he knew. He was still outmatched, but he was wearing Cal down. Then, Cal made a fatal mistake. He lunged forward, aiming for Jack's heart. Jack sidestepped, twisted, and at the last second, he flipped Cal's own momentum against him. Cal's own blade stabbed into his shoulder. The prince cried out, dropping his weapon. Jack kicked him to the ground, pointing the blade at his throat. The jungle fell silent. Jack panted, his arms shaking. He had won. Cal gritted his teeth. Do it. Kill me. Jack stared down at him. Then, he lowered his blade. No. Cal froze. Jack stepped back. I'm not like you. The warriors murmured, shocked. Cal looked up, humiliated, defeated. Zara stepped forward, eyes filled with admiration. You have proven yourself, Jack Carter. Jack grinned weakly. Does that mean I get out of here now? She actually laughed. The High Chancellor finally spoke. The human has won the trials. He is worthy. The crowd exploded in cheers. Cal was dragged away, his reign over. And as Kyra offered her hand to Jack, something told him his adventure was just beginning. The wedding that changed the galaxy. Jack Carter had survived. He had fought through deadly alien trials, faced off against monsters, and defeated a prince in battle. And now he was about to do the most insane thing of all. Get married to an alien princess. The aftermath of the duel. After Jack's victory, the jungle lit up with energy beams, and suddenly the floating palace descended from the sky, hovering just above the battlefield. The crowd of Zirians, once divided, now erupted in cheers. Some still looked uneasy, others were simply shocked, but there was no denying it now. Jack had won his place in history. Prince Cal had been dragged away, his defeat a public humiliation. His supporters had vanished, knowing they had lost the battle. Jack, exhausted and bruised, was led back onto the grand ship, where the High Chancellor addressed the Empire. The human has proven himself worthy. He will stand beside the princess as her chosen consort. Jack barely had time to catch his breath before Kyra stepped beside him, her golden eyes filled with something strange and unreadable. Do you still believe you don't belong here? Jack rubbed the back of his neck, grinning. Honestly, I'm still waiting for someone to tell me this is all a dream. She laughed softly. It is real. And your journey is not over yet. Jack raised an eyebrow. Because of the wedding. Zyra's lips curved into a smirk. Because of what comes after. Jack's stomach tightened. What the hell had he gotten himself into? The wedding announcement. A political firestorm. The next day, the official announcement was broadcasted across the Zyrian Empire. The human champion, Jack Carter, will be wedded to Princess Zyra in the grand ceremony. This union will mark a new alliance between Earth and the Zyrian people. Jack watched as alien news reporters discussed the upcoming event. Some called it a moment of great change. Others called it a disgrace. One particular broadcast stood out to him. A primitive human ruling beside our princess. This is an insult to our history. We should never allow such weakness in our leadership. Jack turned to Zyra, who was watching with a neutral expression. Well, that's not exactly a great wedding gift. Zyra sighed. Many still oppose this. Some will never accept you. Jack ran a hand through his hair. You sure you want to go through with this? Zyra met his gaze. You earned your place, Jack. I will not let them take it from you. For the first time, Jack saw something genuine in her eyes. Not just duty, but trust. And maybe something more. The grand wedding. A ceremony unlike any other. Jack had never been to an alien wedding before, and he definitely hadn't expected it to take place on a floating city, surrounded by thousands of spectators, with holographic banners glowing across the sky. The entire empire was watching. The grand crystal palace stood in the center, its walls made of shimmering, translucent energy. At the highest balcony, the ceremony was set. Jack stood at the front, dressed in an ornate ceremonial suit, complete with strange glowing symbols across the chest. His hair was neatly pulled back, and even though he looked like a king, he still felt like a mechanic from Earth. And then, the music changed. The crowd fell silent. Zyra emerged from the grand entrance, her gown flowing like liquid silver, her hair shifting between deep blue and violet as she walked forward. She carried herself with grace, but there was a new confidence in her step. Jack felt his breath catch in his throat. He had seen many things in his life, but this was something else. Zyra stopped before him, her golden eyes locking onto his. The High Chancellor raised his hands. Today, we witness history. Two worlds become one. A new era begins. Jack and Zyra stood face to face, their hands placed over an ancient glowing artifact, a symbol of unity. The Chancellor turned to Jack. Do you, Jack Carter, accept the bond of the Zyrian people to stand beside Princess Zyra as her equal, her ally, and her chosen consort? Jack took a deep breath. This was it. No turning back now. He glanced at Zyra. She was watching him with something softer than before. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't just political for her anymore. Jack smiled. Yeah, I do. The Chancellor turned to Zyra. And do you, Princess Zyra, accept this human, not as a stranger, but as one of us? Zyra's lips curved slightly. I do. The artifact flashed bright, sending a ripple of energy through the sky. The crowd erupted in cheers, gasps, and disbelief. The Chancellor smiled proudly. Then it is done. Jack barely had time to react before Zyra leaned in slightly, her lips brushing his cheek. Welcome to your new life, husband. Jack blinked. Wait, was that a... Before he could finish, the Chancellor announced it to the world. The wedding is complete. Long live the new royal union. The cheers drowned out the opposition. Jack exhaled, shaking his head. From a mechanic on Earth to an alien prince. Yep, this was definitely the weirdest day of his life. The aftermath. A new beginning. Later that night, after the ceremony, Jack stood on the balcony of the Crystal Palace, looking out at the twinkling alien city below. Zyra stepped beside him, arms crossed. Regrets yet? Jack chuckled. Ask me in a year. She smirked. You handled yourself well, even against Cal. Jack sighed. That guy's not gonna let this go, is he? Zyra's expression darkened. No, and others like him will challenge you. Jack looked at her, his grin fading. Then I guess we better make sure I'm ready. She tilted her head. You're serious? Jack nodded. I survived all this. I'm not running now. For the first time, Zyra's smirk softened into a real smile. Good, because your fight isn't over. Jack exhaled. Yeah, I figured. He turned back toward the city, the weight of the galaxy suddenly on his shoulders. And yet, for the first time since this whole crazy journey began, Jack Carter felt like he belonged.